Dominique. Everyone calls me Dom, and I'm here today with my mom, Anne Marie.
Hello.
And we've been doing different live demos every week to make it a little fun and interesting this week. We're going to explore 2 new ways to use a cookie foot, unique ways. I know that you're all probably like, what is a cookie foot? Well, if you caught our demo when we made one of these floppy bowls, a cookie foot is the glass that's on the bottom of the bowl. So we take some hot glass from the furnace, we're going to drop it off onto here, and we're going to use that foot in the unique ways that's not putting it on a bowl. So if you did miss this live demo, I did put it up on our YouTube channel, and it is also still on our Facebook. We got 3,900 views on that, so we are so humbled by you all taking the time to watch us work. And I'm going to jump right in by getting some hot glass out of the furnace. I've got a long rod. This is actually a blowpipe. It's hollow, but I'm not going to use it in that way. I'm just using it because it's a little bit bigger, so I can get some more glass for our first cookie foot. If you haven't watched us work in here before, then you don't know that my furnace right here, this holds all the glass. It holds 145 pounds of melted glass when it's full, and I like to keep my furnace at 2,200 degrees. So it's really, really hot, and it holds a big ceramic pot of glass. If you hit right there, turn the volume off. While we're doing this, we do have a computer going on the side for the Facebookers, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have as we go along. If you're watching this in the future, because we will leave this up if you can't stay for the whole thing, feel free to add questions in the comments, and I'll make sure to check back frequently to answer any other questions that might come up later. If you've watched the new Netflix show Blown Away, maybe you kind of have a little bit more of an understanding on what we're doing in here. We are really grateful that a television show is coming out that focuses on our craft, and we get a lot of interest. This is going to be season 2, so we get a big bump in interest on people wanting to learn more about glass, and we're really grateful for that too. If you haven't checked it out, make sure to do it. If you have checked it out, let's not spoil it for everyone else. I've got some glass. I'm going to go back in the furnace to get some more. This is how we make larger objects. We just keep adding layers until we have as much as we want. This is my reheating furnace. I actually run mine quite a bit hotter than most people. Mine's around 2,400 degrees. I do turn it down on occasion, but admittedly, I'm just a very impatient person, so the hotter the better. I've got our glass. Gonna cut it. And this is a cookie foot. This is a big one. But we're going to use this for our first adventures into cookie feet. And we're going to do a little bit of cooking with it. Now, glass is pretty fun because it's really hot. And I've used it to cook food in multiple ways, although there's always ways to keep exploring. Admittedly, for the people that know me, they're laughing. I am not a chef. So today we're going to make a grilled cheese, and we're going to see how it cooks on this cookie. So we've got our first way, and it's already going. Looks like it's toasting already. Push this over to the side, and let me know if you see any flames coming out, but I'm going to continue on. So for our next form of cookie foot, we are going to put it into a vessel. We're going to make a base with it. I'm going to start by making the cookie foot though. Oh yeah. We're cooking. Yes, please flip it. That is my my brand new tag that my mother is using as a spatula.
Yeah. Look at this.
So maybe I could have done a smaller cookie foot, and then my grilled cheese could have cooked a little slower. It's getting pretty toasty though. I do have 3 slices of cheese on there because I'm a big fan of cheese. So hopefully the inside gets melty as well. My mom, on the other hand, is vegan, so we probably should have gotten some kind of vegan cheese to be a little more inclusive. But only the best cheese. While we're on the topic, we got some Cabot in there. All right, working on the next cookie foot. I've got this glass right here, and I rolled in some red color. So this is actually going to be red. This is a new color for me called New Red. I didn't make up the name, although I do tend to do that. And I put some samples in the annealer today, so we'll be able to see what it looks like tomorrow once it's cooled down. We burned my grilled cheese. This is actually how I cook, guys, so as in burning everything. But this is a pretty good mission. Maybe we could get a real chef in and do... Give that to Bye-Bye.
Bye-bye, cheese.
Bye-bye.
Hey, hi. Bye-bye, want some cheese?
So I'm going back in the furnace and I'm covering that red and clear glass. And Bye-Bye is actually quite glad that my grilled cheese mission failed. I've got clear glass around my new red, and I'm gonna roll in some yellow. I've got some crushed up chunks of yellow color over here called Fritz. There's a glove underneath. F-R-I-T, Fritz. I'm just rolling in that color. So this looks maybe orange or red, but it is actually yellow. That's actually quite a big cookie. So I think I should have done a smaller cookie that maybe the mass would have cooled down more. The cool thing about using clear glass is we can recycle that. So my mom's going to put that in a bin. And when it cools down too quickly, because it's not being annealed or brought down in my kiln, it's going to pop and explode. So we may hear a big bang. This is my second kind of cookie. New exploration. I've got red underneath and yellow on top. And I know you can't see, but my dog Bye-Bye is really loving the cheese right now. But here we go. We got a cookie, right? One thing I wanted to show you all, let's see if I can scooch it a little closer, is how fun it looks when this yellow cools down a bit. So this is yellow on the outside. I know you can't see it. It's just super hot. You can see how hot that is. This is paper towel. Pretty hot, right? But we can cool it down. Oh, I forgot to put olive oil in my grilled cheese. I brought all the supplies. Maybe that would have helped our burning problems. This is a handy dandy squirt bottle. Only the best is green juice. That as I squirt on it, it turns yellow. I'll show you some yellow. Maybe you can see it in the camera. If you can't, I'll do another video of this sometime because it's quite fun. For this cookie foot, I'm going to try to make our own brick. I'm going to let this cool down. And then, once we know it's pretty cold, we're going to see how we can crush it up. This is why my dog doesn't trust me. Of glass. It is new red on the outside of the vessel. Now you already saw the two kinds of cookies, but the fun isn't over. We're gonna blow a little glass. I've got a hollow blowpipe, and this time I'm actually going to use it to blow. It's a little clog right now, so first I'll heat it up. When we're talking about glass blowing, oftentimes we're not actually blowing the glass. It's maybe a 50-50, depending on the artist and what kind of work you do. But all my flowers, my sun catchers, my paperweights, any of my sculpture animals, those are all done on a solid rod. When I'm talking about my vessels, as my cups and my bowls, my dishes, those are all done with a hollow rod. As in, the tube is hollow all the way through. Every once in a while, a little bit of glass gets caught up in the tube. So that's what I was doing. I was just heating it up, blowing out that glass, and now I know I'm ready to go. So I'm going to get a little bit of clear glass out of my furnace. And I think, just to be dramatic, I'm going to do the inside a purple color. So we'll have a purple base. This is an amethyst. It's a really pretty purple. And then on the outside, we're going to roll in my new frit that will be yellow and new red. It'll be very vibrant, kind of contrasting, much different than my typical style of work. If you know me, my favorite colors are blue and green. And I use a lot of purple and pink. So we're thinking outside of the box today. If this is your first time tuning in, we do go live every week, and we do something different every week. Sometimes I bring in guest artists, as long as we can be safe with COVID. Oftentimes I do demos with my mom. That's very helpful because then I'm not wearing a mask and you can see my face. And you can see my smile, or I have to remember not to have a frumpy face on the whole time. The benefits of getting to wear a mask. So next week, we have really exciting plans because I invited my friend Jocelyn in, and she has an order for a really big white feather. So that's what we're going to be making. Glass blowing is a team sport. And I love helping Jocelyn make these feathers. They're so beautiful. And I think that is a really fun demonstration for everyone to get to watch. Before COVID, we used to open up for open studio times and tours and demos. And oftentimes we'd have Joss make one of our feathers. Will you turn the exhaust up a bit? So I wanted the purple a whole bunch. Once more, it looks orange. I promise it's not. Funny story, I was on New Hampshire Chronicle a couple of times, and one of the times I made a vase. I think it was a green vase. And I had a customer call and they wanted to buy that vase the next day, so we sold it to them, shipped it out to them, and then we got a bad review because they wanted the orange vase that I made in the video. But it actually wasn't orange. Yeah, I just want the little parts. The big parts are going to pop up and hit us. So, I have a bubble in here. Sorry, you kind of missed that. This is now hollow. I organized the material for a little bit, and then I put my mouth on the end and capped it with my thumb. It's a sneaky little trick that takes a while to practice. So the air was stuck in there. As the air travels up the blowpipe, the heat causes it to expand And now I know I have a bubble in there. It's quite hard to see because I have so much color, but I can see just because I have a little bit of a lump going on, and I know it's now hollow. Yes, thank you. I'm going to go back in the furnace, and then we're going to roll in the new grid that we made. Sure. Once more, when you want to make larger objects in glass, you just keep going in the furnace and adding more layers. I'm picking up all of our new chunks. And full credit, one of the ways I thought of this demo idea was one of my mentors, Ed Branson. He makes one of his pieces in a sort of similar fashion where he's able to chop it all up. So I'm taking one of his techniques for one of his products and just applying it in a different form for us to have fun today. When you're doing things like this, you're not always reinventing the wheel. So if you do find that you're inspired by someone, I think it's important to mention it. We have all of our color on the outside. I'm going to shape it a little bit. I'm using a wood block. It's made out of fruit wood. And it hangs out in water. So the water makes steam, and the steam shapes the glass. And I made our bubble a little bigger. I'm going to go back in the furnace just one more time for a little more glass. But we've got some really fun texture going on here. Not sure if it's going to come through with the camera, but I'll make sure to post pictures of it later. Yeah, it looks really pretty. If you're just tuning in, we have purple underneath, and then we made our own color. It's canary yellow, which is an opaque bright yellow. And then it's a new red for us, and it's actually called New Red. It's a transparent red, and I'm hoping that it'll be a really nice red for our products into the future. So once this is stable and not moving around, I'm going to go back in the furnace and get more glass. We can hear it's pretty cold, which is, like 1,000 degrees. So I know I'm good to go back in. Do you want to get a tray and just push everything onto the tray so it's not on the marker? Our base. I'm going to organize it with a wood block. Then you want to get ready to get your stool in like 2 minutes. Glassblowing is a team thing like I mentioned before, so I'm never in here alone. Lately I've been working a lot with my mom, which has been really nice. But the more complicated the object, the bigger your team. So sometimes people think, oh, well, when I get better, I'll do it alone. Usually when you get better, you you want to take on a more complicated object, you have bigger dreams, and then you need a bigger and better team. I'm just shaping the bottom, and we're going to do what's called a drop neck. So we're just going to let gravity and heat choose this vessel's shape. I'm going to do that one more time. I think they were away from the water. Glass is always heating and cooling. So I get it nice and hot in my reheating furnace, and then I do whatever moves I need to keep progressing through towards my goal shape. Which right now is cooling the bottom and blowing out the top. Okay, you want to come right here? Before you get up, can you reach those paddles and put them on the ground underneath you? Now we're going to do our little drop neck shape. Coming in a sec.
Okay.
Yep. I've got this glass nice and hot. And she's standing on a little step stool so that she's up a little higher. I'm letting gravity pull it longer. Spin and blow light. I'm letting go. Spin. And we've got some paddles on the floor. Stop blowing for a sec. Lower. Lower. Stop. Lower down. And blow harder now. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a weak spot at the top where we wanted to break off the pipe. We're using a paddle, a little harder if you can, and stop. Okay, good enough. We use paddles on the floor, all done, to flatten the bottom. And we just have an organic shape. I'm going to have you hang out on the end of the pipe and blow really fast in a minute. I need to make sure the bottom's a little more flat. So we'll heat it up and just kind of make sure it'll stand flat on the table for later. Round of applause for Mom because that was her first time taking that role. It's really hit or miss. So that was good. For the people that have done this with me before, sometimes, as you know, it ends up being a little bit like cat turd on the floor. A little bit of funky noodle town. So my mom's hanging out on the end of the bench, love, and she's forcing some air into the end for me. Stop. And I've got a tool making sure the bottom's flat. Blow hard again. And stop. So where I'm touching right now is going to be what sits on the table later. Okay, I'm going to flash and then you keep spinning. Now we're done with the bottom. We want to work on the top. So we're going to flip this off of this rod and onto another one. It's called a punty, P-U-N-T-Y. I'm just going to wait sure the bottom's a little colder, so just give me 1 minute. First, I want to make sure down here isn't too hot. Otherwise, at the very end, it's going to break off funny. Then I'm going to get a solid rod with a little bit of glass on it. We'll plop it on the bottom of this and break it free from the rod so that I can open up the lip. Now when you're looking at hand-blown glass, oftentimes you see the puntey mark on the bottom of the piece, and now you know why. So I've got a solid rod that's preheated so the glass will stick to it. I'm getting a tiny smidgen of glass from the furnace. Can you flash? Rest on the yoke gentle. That neck's gonna get deep for the neck. Okay. When we're making long things, they like to break because up here is getting a little too cold. So I had her flash to warm it up. My puntey, yeah, the yellow is showing. I'm going to put my puntey on the bottom in the middle as best I can. Apologize if my bum is in the way. Roll it around to make sure it's on center. Tell the glass where I want it to break. Reach over. And vibration breaks the glass at its weakest point. If you know anything about glass, then you know that it isn't necessarily always where you want. But that one worked quite well. It broke right at the lip of the vase. And now I can heat up the top. And maybe I'll flare it out a little bit. But I'll show you what we've got. So here's my vessel. You can maybe see the hole that was attached to the blowpipe. I could very well leave it like this, but the top is sharp. Sometimes people will cold work it, which is a skill I very much appreciate, but I don't enjoy doing myself. So I'm going to heat it up and use the heat to melt it and shape it. When I say cold working, I mean they would put the glass in the annealer, wait a couple days for it to cool down, and then they would use a grinder or a saw or a Dremel or whatever tool they would like to shape the top of the glass once it's no longer hot. When you're doing that, it's a very tricky and time-consuming skill, and it takes really expensive equipment, so all the bits are all little diamond bits. You gotta make sure to do it with water, otherwise the glass will heat up and crack. So that's a whole art form on its own. If you watched our Pegamello video, then you saw Pegamello's toes had a big chunk of glass on the end. We just had a really nice cold worker named Tomo cut off Pegamello's toes. So I took some nice pictures of him. Want to grab that paddle and paddle on for me? And I'll make sure to show it soon. Paddle on. Paddle off. If you're on Facebook, if you join our Facebook group, Friends of Term and Glassblowing Studio, I post a lot more over there. So you can kind of follow our behind the scenes a little bit more. What do you think about that? Or do you think I should blur it more? My mom says it's gorgeous, and that's a high compliment from her. So we're gonna take it.
I said everything was gorgeous.
Yeah, right. When you work with your mom and something isn't nice, she'll tell you. So here's my vessel. It's purple, it's got red and yellow, but it's still really hot. We want it to cool down really slow. So we've got to put it away in our annealer. The annealer runs at 960 degrees. And it'll come down really, really slowly to room temperature. I'll make sure to post what this looks like when it's cooled down. So join our Facebook group so that you can check it out. I'll be right back. So over here, I have a butter knife. And I'm just using the butter knife to tap the bottom of the vessel remind it where I want it to break. Vibration breaks up the rod, and it came off successful. Then I've got these Kevlar gloves that I'm putting on because I'm about to crawl into a really hot oven. A 960-degree oven that has coils on it, kind of like a toaster, and it runs on a computer. So at the end of the day, we have a program in it where the computer brings it down nice and slow to room temperature. I just wanted to take a minute to thank you all for tuning in. If you have any questions, feel free to type them into the comments, and I'll make sure to check back on that frequently. We are going to go live next week at 3 o'clock. And like I said, Jocelyn's going to be making a white feather, so you can feel free to check out her work, JB Fine Art. I'll make sure to make a Facebook event for it, and I'll post some Instagram stories for you Instagram people. Here's a look at our maybe successful, unsuccessful grilled cheese. It is burnt to a crisp, which admittedly is how I cook all the time, even if I'm cooking on a real stove. If you want to support what we do, if you can please check out our website, terrapinglass.com. As you know, we're in the middle of a pandemic, we're a small business, and we're struggling just like everyone else, so we do appreciate any support that you can give us, whether it's just sharing our videos or maybe making a purchase. We do memorials, and we also teach classes in the Flame Shop on a private basis.